Okay, I want to get to inflation, but before we get to inflation, you need to understand the macroeconomic model that is used to explain these concepts. So they're normally represented in a graphic format. Okay? Now, when you looked at a market, such as the market for shoes and how prices are established on a microeconomic level, you had a graph similar to this.
Yes.
And what did we measure on the vertical axis?
The number of
No, what we measured there was price.
price. Okay.
Right. But when we look at macroeconomics, as I said, you can't add the price of a shoe to the price of a cell phone. So in macroeconomics, we talk about price levels.
Okay.
And how do we measure price levels within a country? This word that we just used, inflation. Inflation. So inflation, so that is what you measure on this side of your graph. What would you measure on the other side?
The inflation and
So in macroeconomics, what did we measure? Okay, it was quantity.
quantity,
Quantity. Yeah? Remember,
the amount of
the quantity demanded or quantity supplied.
supply.
Right, now again in macroeconomics, we can't add cell phones and apples together. So what we talk about there is the general output level of a country. Okay? And we normally use a Y there, but that Y represents all the goods and services produced within the borders of a country. Now, what is that a definition of? It's GDP.
GDP.
Okay, so here we mentioned GDP,
Goods delivered.
all the goods and services produced within the borders of a country.
Okay.
And this is the price levels at which those goods and services are produced. Okay. Right. Now, when prices are low, demand is
When prices low, the demand decreases.
when things are cheap. Do you buy a lot or do you buy less?
Buy more.
You buy more. Now, it's the same on a macroeconomic level.
Okay.
So you get a graph that goes like this. When the price levels are high, few items are purchased. When price levels are low, a large amount is purchased. Okay.
Okay.
So this is low. So here your GDP will be low, here your GDP will be high.
Okay.
Here the price levels are low, here the price levels are high.
High.
So if, like in Zimbabwe, when the price levels went up, the people didn't have money to buy even the basic necessities. They needed a whole wheelbarrow full of money in order to buy one bread. Okay. So this is your aggregate demand curve.
Aggregate demand curve.
Yeah. And this one would be your aggregate supply curve.
Okay.
So again, when price levels are low, producers don't produce
Okay.
because they don't make any money. When price levels are high, the output is very high.
Okay.
Now, the key issue that Keynes mentioned, and he was actually the initiator of this concept, and he said, just as in microeconomics, that this point will be your equilibrium point.
Okay.
He said that equilibrium point, and an equilibrium point means that there are no forces within the economy pushing it either way.
Okay.
Okay? So he said at this level, you don't necessarily have full employment.
Okay.
Okay. So his solution to the problem was that one should move the aggregate demand curve to the right.
Okay.
And you do that by increasing people's ability to purchase stuff.
Okay.
And how would you do that?
Credit.
Okay, you do it through fiscal and monetary policies. And one of those monetary policies would be, for example, to reduce interest rates.
Okay.
So then people will then borrow more and spend more.
Okay.
Okay, so you're quite right. That would be one way out. Now, can you see if that curve moves to the right, there is an increase in your output and a decrease in your unemployment levels.
Okay.
Okay, because more things are being produced, more workers are needed. So a shift to the right there will mean that your output levels increase and that the number of people that you employ also increase and your unemployment decreases. So when you get a question on unemployment, you can use this graph to explain how unemployment can be reduced.
Okay.
Okay, and when you get, now I just want to show you something else. Can you see when this curve goes to the right, there is a commensurate increase in your inflation.
Okay.
See, your inflation goes up from that level to that level. Okay, so a shift to the right then also could mean an increase in inflation.
Okay.
So when you get a question on inflation, you can use this graph to explain how inflation can take place if this curve moves to the right.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
all right.